Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hayakumullah, bayakumullah. Hope you guys are doing good. Inshallah, in this episode, we'll be looking at the second principle with which we can rectify our soul and purify it, and that is dua. Okay, supplication. Right? We'll find out in just a moment. Be right back.
Join us on Mondays on our program tagged Heart Clinic as we journey through the purification and rectification of our heart across the borderline of our belief system.
Dua is from the best acts of worship with Allah because it contains displaying of inability, need, submissiveness, humbleness, and the acknowledgement of the ability and the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over everything. His richness, self-sufficiency, his grandeur, and his power to overcome and make anything happen. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while telling us about dua, said, "Laysa shay'un akramu ila Allahi min dua." There's absolutely nothing more beloved or more nobler in the sight of Allah besides supplication, besides dua. Now, there's so much we can say about dua. All right. Before we delve into how it is a means by which we can purify our souls and rectify our heart. But first, I need to touch on something, and that is the common misconception people do have with regards to dua and supplication, generally speaking. Okay, this misconception is regardless of your race, regardless of tribe, regardless of the civilization that you have, okay, or the kind of orientation that you have. Okay, it's regardless of the background that you're coming from. It's something that cuts across, all right, because the very nature of dua itself is what the scholars have described as mimma ya'ummu bihi al-balwa or mimma ta'ummu bihi al-balwa. That is, it is something that cuts across. Okay, whether you like it or not, once you wake up in the morning, okay, in each day we all make a dua, either to free our souls or to enslave our souls, either for our own good or against us. So that is why it is very, very important for us to understand and clear these misconceptions and doubts with regards to how we have viewed this concept of dua. Generally speaking, when you're talking about dua is of two types, is of two categories. Okay, and the first is a dua ul ibadah, and the other is a dua ul mas'ala. People don't know this, but this is very important. A dua ul ibadah wa dua ul mas'ala. I'm laying this foundation so that you would later agree with me, okay, by the end of this video, with regards to the misconception about dua that we do have. Now, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Ad-du'ahu huwa al-ibadah." That's another hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, you can check the book of Sunan Abi Dawud. Okay, the first hadith that you find there in Kitab al-Da'wah. Okay, Kitab al-Da'wah, the book of prayers. All right, that's the first hadith that you're going to see in the Sunan Abi Dawud. Ad-du'ahu huwa al-ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ said, dua itself, supplication, is the act of worship. Now, we all know the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the mankind and the mankind. All right, it is for what? It is for worship. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created the mankind and the mankind except that they worship me. Okay, now if that is the major reason for our creation and our existence on the surface of the earth, okay, so that tells you that the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not by choice. So whether we are pleased, whether in hardship, whether in ease, whether in bounties, whether in less resources or whatever, okay, whether we are okay, we are not okay, whether we are fine or not fine, whether we are happy or not happy, the main reason why we are in existence is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so regardless of whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us his bounties or not, we are supposed to be subjugated to his decree, which is his worship, either we like it or not. Now, this is where we will begin to understand the misconception that I'm talking about in regards to our perception with dua. Okay, because people's perception, generally speaking, with regards to dua is that whenever they hear supplication, then the next thing that comes to mind is we have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something. That is not the case. That takes us to the kinds of dua that we have, and that is dua ul ibadah wa dua al mas'ala. What then is dua ul ibadah? Dua ul ibadah is when you supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without asking anything from him. You supplicate to him, you worship him because of his right of lordship and his right of worship over you. That is dua ul ibadah. And dua ul mas'ala is when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something. It's natural as a human being that you hit some few roadblocks on the way. Okay, you need someone to come to your rescue. You have to call on someone, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is opening that channel for us so that we can run to Him and He can rescue us from any situation. Now, these two dua, you can find the authority in one chapter of Al-Quran Kareem that ordinarily a Muslim must recite at least 17 times in a day, and that is Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. All of this is dua ul ibadah. Why? Because you are hymning the praises of Allah. You are glorifying Him. Okay? Ihdina siratal mustaqim, siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, ghayr maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. All of this, what are we asking for? We are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us. Okay? And in the end, we say Ameen. That tells you that Surah Al-Fatiha is a very potent dua of dua ul ibadah and dua ul mas'ala. Now, with regards to how supplication can be a potent means of the purification of the heart, okay, it has been reported that the Prophet ﷺ used to say in Sahih al-Muslim that Allahumma ati nafsi taqwaha wa zakkaha. Oh Allah, give to my heart its purification and its cleansing. Wa anta khayrun man zakkaha. You are the best of those that can purify it. Anta waliyuha. You are its master. Wa maulaha. And you are its patron. In this supplication lies the fact that purification is a potent means by which you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify your heart. And as a matter of fact, none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can purify the heart. Because the Prophet ﷺ used to say in another hadith, which is authentic, Allahumma ya muqallibal qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Oh Allah, you are the turner of the hearts. Thabbit qalbi, establish my heart ala dinik, upon your religion. So this is a clear indication of the fact that none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can purify the heart, and it is incumbent upon us to supplicate to Allah because we are in the need for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to purify our hearts. Now the next thing is, how do we now fast track our prayers being answered, generally speaking? Okay, whether we are supplicating for the purification of our heart or something else, okay, you need to do one thing, and this has been tested and trusted. Okay, communicate the weakness, your need to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then ask Him. He will surely grant you. And inshallah, I'll give us some couple of examples to this effect. To start with is the story of Prophet Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam in Surah Al-Anbiya, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَظَنُّونِ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَا نَقْدِرُ عَلَيْهِ فَنَادَى فِي الظُّلُمَاتِ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنْتَ سُبْحَانَكَ إِنِّي كُنْتُ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And remember Dhanun, okay, that is Yunus alayhi salatu wasalam, when he departed in wrath, okay, like he was angry, he was sent to people, and he stylishly declined. He imagined that we had no power over him, right? And but when he cried through the depths of the darkness, right, that is when he was swallowed by the fish. There is no God but thou, okay, that is no deity worthy of worship besides Allah. I was indeed wrong, that is, I wronged myself. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And so we listened to him and we delivered him from the distress, and thus do we deliver those who have faith. So what is the point that I'm trying to drive home is that before he supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Inni kuntu minadh dhalimin. Of course, I know I've wronged myself, right? So he communicated his circumstance and his situation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah said, Fastajabna lahu, and we listened to him, we answered him. All right. The reading in Al-Ubudiyya, the Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, okay, when the Prophet ﷺ visited Ta'if and he was not accepted by the people, and he was stoned and pelted and insulted and what have you, Prophet ﷺ, while scrambling and in a pool of blood, he said, Allahumma ilayka ashku da'fu quwwati. Oh Allah, I complain to you about my weakness, wa qillatu haylati, and my little resources, wa hawani ala nas, and my unimportance in the sight of people, because that is the reason why they have treated me this way. Ya arhamar rahimin, oh the most merciful of all those that are merciful. Anta rabbu mustad'ifin wa anta rabbi, you are the Lord of the weak and you are my Lord, and on like that, up until the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam. Of course, we all know this story, and that Jibril alayhi salatu wasalam came to the Prophet and said that I have been instructed that you have been given the permission to command the angel that is He is in charge of the mountains around this area, so that the angel can just turn the mountain on them, and they will just be destroyed. But the Prophet said that no, if they are not accepting, I'm very sure, later in the future, maybe their descendants will accept this message from me. Another example of such is what has been reported in Wabil al-Sayyib min Kalam al-Tayyib by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book, where he said that the Prophet ﷺ, while teaching Abu Bakr and Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, this hadith has been reported in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. He said, وَفِي صَحِيحَيْنِ, that is in the two Sahih, أن أبا بكر الصديق رضي الله عنه, that he said, Abu Bakr Siddiq رضي الله عنه said, قال يا رسول الله, he said, O Messenger of Allah, علمني دعاء, teach me one dua, أدعو به في الصلاة, with which I will supplicate in my salah. فقال, then said, قال, the Prophet ﷺ said, Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi dhulman kathira, oh Allah, I have oppressed my soul, okay, greatly. Wa innahu la yaghfiru dhunuba illa ant, and none can forgive other than you, okay. Faghfir li maghfiratan min indak, forgive me my sins with the forgiveness from you. Warhamni, and have mercy on me. Innaka antal ghafurur rahim, verily you are the one that is most forgiving and the most merciful. Then Ibn Qayyim said, فَجَمْعَ فِي هَذَا الدُّعَاءِ الشَّرِيفَ عَظِيمٌ, he said it comprises, okay, that is this dua, which is big, which is comprehensive, comprises of al-qadri bayna i'tirafi bil-hal, okay, the manifestation or the acceptance or the admission of your state of affairs, wa tawassul ila rabbihi, and seeking the face of Allah, that is seeking tawassul, like some sort of ascension, like the intercession of Allah, okay, bifadlihi, with his honor, wajudihi, and his magnanimity, okay, wa annahu mufarridu bi ghufrani dhunub, because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can forgive the sins. Summa sa'ala hajatihi, then he now asked for his need, ba'da tawassul bi amrayn ma'ah, after seeking the intercession, or after seeking the ascension towards Allah with both things. What are those things? Okay, communication of his state of affairs, his weakness. I've oppressed my own soul, and none can do what? None can forgive other than you. Okay, and then seeking the tawassul of Allah with his magnanimity, as well as the fact that He only can forgive and He only is the most merciful. Then he said, فَأَكَذَا أَدَابُ دُعَا, and he said that this is the mannerism of dua. This is how to supplicate. All right. And the mannerism of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can see in the footnote, you can see Qala Alamatul Ibn Baz, the ta'liq, the comment of Ibn Baz is there from this page up onto the next page. So brothers and sisters, the greatest of which that can help us in dua is knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, only Him can purify us, and purify our speech, and purify our hearts as well, and that all affairs belongs to Him and is in control of everything. In this video, we've seen the potency of supplication, how to supplicate, as well as the two kinds of supplication that we have, and I hope that we will begin to make some rectification of not only ourselves, of our hearts, as well as how we perceive dua, generally speaking. هذا والله أعلم. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.